our economy in Uganda, just like all the other economies globally, have suffered under the COVID-19 pandemic because in 2019-2020, the projected growth was about 6.3%, and the following year it was projected to go to 6.2%. Unfortunately, out of the pandemic, it actually failed to almost half to 3.3%. So government has devised ways and means to make the economy grow better in the circumstances. There was an opportunity, especially on the supplies out of the COVID, like gloves, masks, and all the other supplies, that even oxygen. So where we were actually buying most of these things and importing them, there were factories that have been authorized and licensed to produce these supplies. And on top of that, they actually create jobs for Ugandans. So where there's been bleak, there's some companies that have closed. On the other side, there've actually been companies that have opened to support the pandemic industry, what I call it, because there is no other better word to describe it. Now, out of that, we have also diversified our markets because we realize that the existing markets were not enough to support the economy. So, 1st of January 2020, Uganda has signed up and put in place African Free Continental Trade Area. Now, where markets were limited to really national Uganda, the East Africa, and the COMESA region, we now have a market of 1.5 billion African market to tap into. And on top of that, we've also improved our border zone exit for goods and services, just to help tip that balance of the surplus and deficits. So where our goods have now been facilitated to cross more of these border points, we have seen an increase of trade activity by about 36% since the pandemic. So these are Mpondwe, Bunagana, Busia, all these border points have improved the trade economies for our country. And also the other thing is, apart from the jobs, we have promoted Bubu. Because you see, once you open, all the other countries are also free to sell their goods and services within your zone, your zone of trading, that is the national boundary of Uganda. But once we promote Bubu, it means that Ugandans are also going to be buying Uganda first to promote our local industries, thereby promoting jobs, promoting services, promoting expenditure. And private expenditure really drives the economy. And where we have actually seen goods going also to other countries, we have tried to put UNBS at those points to prove that our quality is worth of competition across our boundaries. So those certifications have now reduced the costs of certification. For medium enterprises, we have actually reduced from 1.5 to 1.3 million Uganda shillings. Then from the small ones, it's from 800,000 to about 500,000 certification, just to drive the trade traffic and the clearance of certification on quality of goods and services for the private sector. Now, also in terms of strengthening the non-tariff barriers, our countries have, like in our neighboring countries, there have been quite a bit of non-tariff barriers put in place just to make sure that it's all regulated, all the trade is regulated. But in this case, as a Uganda, we have worked on internet-based trading, reporting, monitoring, and elimination of poor goods and services coming into our country. And that means that it leaves us as the main players within our dimensions, and we meet at an intersection which is helpful to Ugandans in that way. So the utilization of stakeholder management on online mechanisms has been very helpful in that sense. We've also implemented the parish model, as you know about it. The parish model is really aimed at bringing services and the government expenditure down to the roots of our local industries, local SMEs, and cooperatives. So in that way, people are actually getting first-hand help in terms of productivity. Because we are an agriculture-based economy, this would actually foster growth at the grassroots and create jobs at the grassroots and the local enterprises. So that NDP planning has also helped NDP 3. It's really in conjunction with the NDP 3 agenda of industrialization with inclusiveness. So we would like the whole infrastructure, financing infrastructure, to support that parish model alongside the NDP 3. So the provision of financial services, and it's all private sector driven really, as well as government facilitated. So where private sector has come in to help with the financing of most of these initiatives, people have actually come in to help the programs, and the government has also come in to relay the programs and deliver those programs to our people. One of the biggest challenges is mainly financing, because government of Uganda has got debt up to about 50% of our GDP. That's a very high ceiling. Now, when we have got this debt and most of the income that is generated by Uganda Revenue Authority and all the other channels and grants, most of this income is actually going into financing debt, which leaves a very small headroom and residual income for the country to devolve along the initiatives. So that struggle is there, and it's real, because all the other economies across the world are really struggling. So our development partners like the World Bank, IMF, EU, actually should step in to help stop this gap at the deficit and cover that gap, the financing gap. This could actually go a very long way in helping us cover the initiatives that we would like to do in delivery of service, especially under the programs that are already in place. Private sector is key in any case, because private sector is going to, once we have facilitated as government in terms of ease of doing business, for example, if we make it very easy on case of tax administration, in the case of compliance on many fronts, in case of access maybe to industrial park land or anything like that, if we make it easy for them and provide even the financing channels, say through UDB or through Postbank or all the other government channels that provide financing and support, private sector is able to provide jobs. Private sector is able to provide food security. Remember that we are an agriculture-based country. So when we have like agriculture booming, there's food security, we have maize and all the other dry cereals. That means that people are able to sell at stable prices, and we can actually plan for our economies. And the private sector is a very good channel to do that. So if we, even apart from that, in terms of attracting local foreign investments, foreign direct investments, private sector plays a key role, because they provide a very good partnership with foreign investments. So, and they all come in and do ventures locally, where the investors come in, bring money, and then invest in our own local projects. And we have so many projects. If you look at Uganda Investments Authority, they have a catalogue of projects which are waiting to be funded. So if the private sector actually comes in and drops all these initiatives into production, it could go a very long way in terms of, in fact, on all fronts, because they are the driver of the economy. And even when you think about it, private sector has a role to play, especially on import substitution and driving. And for us, we can actually do the export promotion for them, as I've explained. So private sector, when they play their import substitution, it means we do not have to import food. We don't have to import services, like consultancy services. We don't have to import many of the supplies that cost a lot of money in terms of foreign exchange and tip the balance of our economy. So for us, what we should really do is to promote private sector, support them and provide them financial services to make it easy for them to do business.